Hello, and welcome to the Zendesk for Startups webinar, Business Rule Basics. I'm Jill, and over my 6 years at Zendesk, I've worked with businesses and organizations of all sizes and across industries. From Airbnb, who has grown and scaled with us, to L'Oreal, creating new direct-to-consumer marketplaces, we truly believe that the best customer experiences are built with Zendesk. And if you can remember, a few years back, just over a decade, when Zendesk was a startup, you can see how much we've grown. At over 2,000 employees in 16 offices, we're able to support well over 1 billion interactions from our 125,000 customers in over 160 countries around the world, and now including you. So let's kick off this topic by taking a look at views and macros. I like to start here because they teach us some of the basic tenets of business rules. Conditions and actions, and these are found under your admin settings, manage, and then views and macros. So first, I encourage you to evaluate the views as they come standard within your Zendesk account. These views that you see in the left-hand panel when you go to your view page are able to be cloned or edited and really just help you to group or subcategorize your tickets into different views dependent on the audience. So what agents are trying to get done. Maybe it's a group, maybe it's a location-based system, but each of these views are really intended to be a template for you to start from and then edit to really fit your workflows, your business. So looking at these views, learning from how they are structured to then create your own from scratch or to tweak the ones that are there will lead to reduced agent downtime and really a clarity of expectations. If agents are all working out of these views, it sets the standard for where they're supposed to be and what is the priority for them. And working out of these queues across agent groups is going to give you overall a lower response and resolution time. So I mentioned conditions, and I really just have to drive this point home that getting familiar with what conditions are available, what data points within your ticket are able to be looked at to then filter out which tickets you want to see is very useful. So we see this list to the right of all of our different conditions out of the box. And I also want to point out that there's 2 different sections here for meet all of the following conditions versus meet any of the following conditions. So all is very black and white. Status is new is only going to pull in tickets where the status is new versus any. So perhaps that's status is new or status is opened. So that any allows for an either or relationship, whereas all is extremely cut and dry. It either is or it isn't going to fit that condition. So once you've looked through this list and you're aware of how to use these conditions to filter out your tickets, you're going to know how exactly you can structure these views to hone in on what you need to see. Also note that you can use your custom fields. So as you start to create your own custom data points, perhaps it's what type of ticket is this, what category does this fall into, you can then use that custom field in this list of conditions. You'll see that included below the default options as well. So just a few best practices here, although there's a whole community post where I encourage you to visit, learn more, and also share your own insights. But I have to mention our play feature. So in the top right of any of your views, you're going to see this play button. And I would encourage you to not only craft these views, make sure that all of them are relevant as you log in. You should see the top view as the most highest priority place to start your day. And if you have done that work, when your agents log in, they're going to go into that view, and if they all hit play to work through them, it really provides a standard for how your agents are performing. So if everyone within your finance team is working out of your finance view, they're hitting play, not able to cherry pick tickets, you know that you're going to get a consistent metric to then gauge your agent performance by. So I really encourage that play button. It makes the day-to-day and takes out the micromanaging need from any admins or managers of your agents. Beyond that, I mentioned custom ticket fields, using those in your conditions to hone in again on the tickets, the customers, the different situations that you're dealing with in your views. And also to note that you can, if you're employing checkbox fields, use the tags that you're setting with that checkbox field to then include them in views as well. Up at the top of the views page, you'll see this little circle with an arrow. That is your refresh button. And right now we're seeing all zeros and ones in our default views here on the left. But if I were to refresh and then see that, oh, we've got 50 unassigned tickets, this is a great way to just see your queue volumes at a glance. So great for managers, high-level stakeholders in your account, just to see where your support team is at overall. But when you want to drill in a little further, maybe see all the tickets that came in from one specific customer over the last year, I would instead recommend using the advanced search app rather than a view that's going to be static and live in your account. You can follow this link to our advanced search app found in our marketplace. This is free. We created this ourselves, and it is just a wonderful tool to add on top of your views. So you can really dive in, use your custom ticket fields, the default data points, pull up a list of tickets, and also export to a CSV. So this is a great app that I recommend to most of the accounts I work with. Beyond that, though, there is also the Quickie app available for purchase. This is a drop-down list of views from the top of your Zendesk, the top bar of your Zendesk account. And this is a great way to see your views from any page. So if you struggle with only having 12 views to the left and you really want to pull them up while you're looking at tickets or looking at reporting, you're able to use this Quickie app to then see as many views as you would like and also access those from any page that you're on within Zendesk. So finally, head over to our community to see more best practices and to add your own. And now on to macros. So we've covered these conditions, which are so integral to macros to filter out your tickets. But that next step is taking action on your tickets. So with macros, we also provide you with defaults in your account. And I encourage you to look at those to really see what macros are able to do. But ultimately, as we see in this little demo to the right, you're able to apply a macro and set fields, add descriptions, and take action on your tickets in a very standardized way. So I encourage you to look back to what you were, whatever you were using, perhaps before Zendesk, email templates. I've seen, Word docs, sticky notes, everything you can think of to create these notes to self about how to handle certain situations. And so I encourage you to move those into macros. You're even able to look at a past ticket, perhaps it was handled really well, and you want to make sure that that's the same language you use or the same escalation process that you use again. You're able to use a drop-down menu in the upper right here and create a macro from an existing ticket. So again, if you see some really well-handled ones, templatize those and make those into macros to help inform other agents. So really macros can do a lot to update a ticket, escalate to a different group, even triage right out of the gate to a different team perhaps. And you can also set those to be specific to different groups, to agents, or even just to assign tickets into a specific view. So if you are utilizing these macros to their best ability, you're going to get faster first response and reply times. Quality assurance, again, is huge for me when I promote macros, just to make sure that you're giving that consistent customer experience. Your agents are equipped to handle every situation to the best of their ability, and even to learn from what was done in the past, like with these existing tickets, without having to have a conversation with someone and learn from them directly. You can really build your institutional knowledge into your macros. So as much as you can put into your macros, there's likely going to be some that come and then go eventually. Maybe you have a product release where you're going to be heavily promoting something or supporting a tool that's being end of life. And after a certain amount of time, that's no longer going to be top priority or what you're handling with your tickets. So I encourage you to look through them at least quarterly, twice a year, if not more frequently, depending on your bandwidth to administer your account. But use some of our built-in tools like this sort by usage right within the macros pane. You're able to look at how much was this macro used within the last 30 days, 7 days, 1 day, 1 hour. So you'll really see a delineation of which ones are being used a lot versus which ones might be ready to be deactivated or sunset. Also to look back at your tickets and which ones not only were well handled, but maybe also these one-touch tickets to find new processes or quick situations that you could create a macro for. Almost just a one reply, you know that problem has been resolved with maybe a help center article or one set of instructions set to solved. And again, a macro can really help take care of that. So overall, we hope that you have less clicks per ticket, and that leads to more streamlined workflows and less admin overhead. So it really is all about using these macros as training tools and building knowledge right into your account. So quick best practices here, use these macros to maybe set or fill in your ticket forms. So if you're on a plan that has ticket forms, these oftentimes should be set right at the onset so that the agent is filling out the right information needed. It's a great way to, again, just kind of set those standards in place. And also I want to point out that you can nest your macros, have them be cascading with this double colon method. So here we see shipping, : returns and exchanges, and then help center article. And down below, we see how that looks in our macros. We can always search and pull up the macro we need right away, but this will help keep your list a little more tidy and categorize those macros into groups that make sense to your agents if they're looking for it cold and don't know what to search for. Of course, if you have help center articles out there that explain process or ways to resolve an issue, I encourage you to throw those links into your macros, reference that material rather than just writing it all out again. And again, really to think about ways to eliminate those clicks. Anything that you can set through the macro where you know this is always going to be the same. In X situation, we know that we want that status set to pending. We want it assigned to a specific person or a group, etc. So really just think about what you can take out of all the given situations you encounter and build into those macros. I also encourage you to add a description. So here we see how this UPS macro has a little description there. So again, imagine if you're a new agent to the account, perhaps as you're growing as a startup and getting new agents on board, you probably don't have a ton of time to teach them everything you know about the business or how to respond. And so really see these macros as a way that you can build that right in. And it also empowers those agents to then answer their own questions and see how they should handle a situation just by reviewing your macros. Finally, I'll just mention placeholders. That is a whole set of different pieces of code that you can then throw into your macros that will pull in custom details or even something as simple as the first name of your customer that is then going to really personalize your description and pull in those data points without having to manually look and insert them as an agent. So rely on those placeholders and get familiar with that list and what's available there as well. So now that we've taken a look at both those conditions and the actions you can take on a ticket, we're going to put it all together in our triggers and automations. So take a look at those triggers right out of the box as well. Right in your admin settings, down in business rules, triggers is right at the top. And here are the ones we give you right out of the box. And I really encourage everybody to review these and work with some test tickets to see how these triggers play into your account. They are just so important and so integral to the operation of Zendesk. If you're coming off of email, this is what makes the client send out any responses to your customers. So really very important to take a look at these, get familiar with what they do before you're deactivating them or deleting them. And again, this is a great learning tool. So take a look at these, duplicate them, add your own conditions or actions to make them do what you need to do. But really get familiar with these before you're taking live tickets and communicating with your customers or clients. So you'll see right at the top the notify requester of received request and comment update. These, again, are what are responsible for responding to a customer when they email you or submit a ticket in any other channel. This is what is letting them know that you've received that, or also if you write a reply, this trigger here, notify requester of comment update, is what is responsible for sending that reply out. So you turn that off and you are essentially, again, not communicating outside of your Zendesk account. I also, if you look down further, recommend talking to your team as you get ramped up on Zendesk, and you'll see all these notify assignee and notify group and notify all agent triggers. And this is likely going to be need some tweaking, where it's really up to you and your team and how much you're spending your time, your day-to-day in Zendesk, to know the right balance with these triggers. Are you communicating too much or too little out of the account? So really fine-tuning that and finding the right balance for your team is super important. You want to really effectively notify your agents when they need to be about tickets and updates there. So these triggers are really, at the end of the day, helping you to automate some of these repeatable actions, to take action on these tickets without having to manually do that. But taking a little step back and just looking at the fundamentals of how triggers operate within your account, I love pointing to this diagram. So this is the trigger cycle, where once a ticket is, you hit submit on that ticket, or it comes in fresh, it's going to look at all the different conditions of all the triggers you have active, and it's going to look down those list of conditions. If that ticket meets those conditions, the trigger will fire the action set, and then it goes back to the top of the list, works its way back down until it finds another trigger where the conditions are met. This keeps going, and so if you have 100 triggers in your account, every time you hit submit, all of those are going to be looked at, and this process is going to repeat until it works its way all the way through those triggers. So understanding this basic concept is really important for troubleshooting purposes, in case there's a change being made that then's being overridden by another trigger. So I can't stress this enough, that knowing these basic functionality of how these triggers operate is going to help you a lot as you set up your account, or as you try to scale, add new business process, new agents, groups in there, and use that events log to then see which triggers acted on that ticket to then make any tweaks needed. So I just want all of you to be getting your tickets handled as expected, making sure that they're being routed correctly, updating and not overriding each other as you try to make changes. And if you are aware of this concept of how they operate and are labeling your triggers very clearly, describing what their functions are, this is going to lead to much better change management down the road, and training as you bring on new agents and admins, so that they're aware of how everything functions within your account. So one quick recommendation, right out of the box, you have that notify requester of received requests. So a ticket comes in, it's created, and it's going to fire out a response to your customer to let them know they've received it. Here's just a quick addition to that. Let's say we have the ticket is created, and we know already, because the billing form was used when it was submitted, we already know that should go to our billing team. So here we've got a good example of all of the following conditions that ticket is created. And then with any conditions, right now we've got the form is billing form, but we could also have, this is received at our billing email address, billing@company.com. It came in through our web form, using the billing form, whichever channel you're looking to take those billing tickets in. So you can add anything in those conditions, and then we see within our actions that we're directly assigning it to our billing group. So as you set up your account, you group your agents into functional teams or job responsibility, location, etc., whatever it might be. Look for ways that you can use either the default fields or custom fields that you've set up to route the ticket to the group or the person that it needs to go to as soon as possible. Really getting that immediate action on the ticket, sending it right to the right team or person is going to give you a faster first reply time, hopefully full resolution time, and reduces that customer wait time overall, which improves their experience. And then on to automations. So while our triggers are fired every time we hit submit on a ticket, our automations are time-based. So here we have our out-of-the-box automation to set our tickets to closed after they've been manually set to solved. And so our automation reads status is solved and it's been more than 4 days. Now we want to set that status to closed. So this is a great example of that time-based condition and also of nullifying conditions. So in the conditions at the top, we're saying the status is solved. Down below in the actions, we're changing that status to closed so that the next time, the next hour that this ticket is looked at, we're no longer going to meet those conditions so that this automation doesn't run on that ticket again. It has been nullified. So you want to create custom automations for your time-based rules and workflows. This is just a great example that of course you can tweak, but you can likely find other processes that you're doing manually now to automate instead, where you have a certain time parameter that you need to do this within. You can pick out those conditions and give it a time-based condition and then nullify it to then create more efficiency. So building that standard and handling things the same way, treating every customer the same. They have all the same amount of time to get back to you in that window before it's set to closed. Things like that is going to give you more standards, save you time and energy from doing these things manually, and also you're able to report more consistently on how your tickets are going through their life cycle and how you're interacting with customers. So I can't say enough how much these automations really help as you're trying to move these tickets along and automate things that might otherwise take a lot of agents' energy. So here's a great example of how you can move that ticket along without putting more burden on your agents. We call this a bump solve process. So we're bumping the ticket when perhaps we need more information from a customer, but we haven't gotten a response yet. So the ticket is sitting at pending, we're waiting for that response, and we can identify X amount of time before we want to send out that first bump where we're saying, hi again, we still just need to know X, Y, and Z before we're able to resolve this issue. And again, move that ticket along through that process without having to spend agents' time manually doing this work. You're able to then report on how this ticket was moved along. You can see that we are utilizing some tags here. So this is a great way to get familiar with a more complex process built out with a series of automations. And I do encourage you to check out this article if that sounds interesting to you. So of course, having your agents trained to use ticket fields as they are meant to be used so that this process goes along swimmingly is a point here. But really, we hope that this increases your agents' productivity, helps them use their time on matters that take their personal touch rather than spending time sending out these reminders that they still need more information, things like that. So we hope that this helps you with your backlog, moves those tickets along without having to spend more time and stress on them, and will also give you better reporting in the long run as they are all handled in a similar fashion. So you have a better handle on your agent's performance, where they're spending their time, and that customer experience. How long did it take to work through a full resolution here? So finally, I'll just mention service level agreements and schedules, because these are other great tools within Zendesk if you're on our professional or enterprise plans. So scaling your service level agreements is something I would really recommend, even if you don't have customers who you've contractually agreed to a certain amount of time that you respond or that you work through their issue. These are really just great tools to hold your team to your own customer service standards. So again, you may very well have a contract with a very important customer who you have agreed to a 15-minute window that you're going to respond and X amount of time before it's fully resolved. But I encourage you to identify different customers or organizations or even just types of tickets that need a specific handle time. So maybe if you're working with software that you have an outage where none of your customers are able to access it, that deserves a very urgent service level agreement versus a lesser priority issue that maybe only affects one customer account. So we, as you can see in the images here to the left, we help you get strategic and think about all those different times that you would want to look at the request or wait time. How long has the agent spent on this ticket? And really setting your own standards up versus on what priority that ticket's at. So this helps you view within your views. You can add that next SLA breach column in there to see how you're performing. If your tickets are all in the red, you need to spend some time working through that queue. Versus if you're ahead of schedule, you've gotten replies out to all of your customers, and you see that green text in that column to know that you're doing well on your own standards. So really, this is all about visibility, transparency, not only with your customers, but just within your own team. And hopefully this improves your agent experience as well, where they know where they need to spend their time, what is high priority, and are they working up to your expectations. So I'll just leave you with the fact that SLAs have shown to make response times 200 times faster. That's really an indisputable point of why you would want to implement these and rely on them to give you more visibility into your performance and help your agents even monitor their own time throughout the day of if they're spending it in the right queues or on the right tickets. And also our business hours. So this is a wonderful feature if you're trying to segment out, perhaps in your reporting, of not trying to have those nights and weekends in your reports as how long did it take to resolve things. You're able to delineate between calendar hours and business hours. So if you're on the clock from 9 to 5, you can then see within that 9 to 5 time slot, are you responding to all of your customers within an hour, or versus looking at the entire week calendar hours, how that looks, how fast you respond on nights and weekends, or not at all. So setting these schedules up, you can make them global or set up different schedules for different teams, and use those in your business rules as well. So you'll see conditions that specifically say, are we looking at those business hours or those calendar hours while you're working with automations and things like that. So if you think back to where we said we're going to set that ticket to closed 96 hours after it's been set to solved, that was calendar hours. And if we suddenly flip that to business hours, we're giving a much longer window for our customers to reach out and respond to us. And rolling off the holidays here, you can think about how nice it might be if you work those holidays into your schedule, and then also reference those in your business rules to send out a specific reply when you are closed for a holiday or some type of leave. So it's really all about setting expectations. If your customer reaches out while you're on holiday, just letting them know that they need to expect a delayed response, or when they should expect a response from you, is the point here, and what I really hope you'll consider to give your customers a more tailored experience and all around setting your agents up for success, where when they respond, the customer already knows that they were out for several days and are just getting back into the queues now. So this is also going to give you more accurate reporting, handle and resolution times based on when your agents are available. So I can't stress enough how nice it is to work in these schedules, these holidays, so that you can take those into consideration in your reports, and also just when working with your customers throughout the year. So finally, I hope you enjoyed the topics today. If you'd like to join us for a live office hours session, we do those every other week, so please join us. Come and listen to this again, or hop in and share your own thoughts, ask questions. Would really encourage you to engage with us and chat if you have any questions or thoughts about this topic. So thanks again, and have a great day.